It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hey guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the black shading that Terry and I did kind of all over my ribs, like the sides and the lower parts of my stomach, and the color in the eye that we did probably, I think, the fourth time now. The eye used to be kind of orange, yellow, and red, and now it's got the more kind of galaxy-inspired look with the blue and purple and the pink and red and all that. And that's all healed up now, so I'll show that off here in a bit. First, I'll get into what Rick and I got up to today, as we just had our session here at the shop. So we did all of this stuff in here. It's hard to show off, but decent chunk today, about 2.5 hours of work, and everything we did last time on the hand here, or the arm of the monster here, is healed up fairly well, and very easy. All of this is healing very easy. We got to hit this back chunk next week. I'm going to be into this. I think that'll be the third-ish time that we've done most of those colors back there, and they've done very well. They are what they are, and they haven't really changed much, but this is a process of layering. Some of the effects that Rick and I have got here can't really be done without layering anyway. There's some stuff in here that doesn't necessarily stand out without like really looking at it, like this light blue halo around the black lines of these suction cups that lead into suction cups in different areas, used to kind of break up and dictate the flow of where the tentacles are coming and going. There's lots of little tricks like that kind of all over this sleeve that upon like deeper inspection, when you're looking closely, add a lot of little, like, I think a lot of style and flow to the whole thing. But for a lot of people, it just looks like stuff, right? It's like we're in the extremes of things here, just fucking around and having fun. And that's been the basis for this sleeve for the last, at least for the last 6 months, I would say. Once we got the whole thing under control to where it wasn't really like, oh, we need to build it, oh, we need to get it, like, the things in there so that they stay, you know. Once we got it to a place where it was more or less under control, it's just like going in and buffing things up and distinguishing things and kind of pulling things apart. A lot of this stuff, I think, it's come across the wrong way to some people, because like this sleeve has been a good argument for people who doubt this work to talk shit about what we're doing here. And running alongside the rose sleeve, it should prove my point, where the rose sleeve comparatively has been very little work, because there's almost nothing going on with it. There's like very little detail in it, and there's very little complicated about it. It's very plain and simple, and therefore achievable very easily. And so it should prove the point that I've made, that this can be done in a relatively short span of time. However, if you're going to be doing something insane like this shit, don't expect it to be that way. And obviously 2 different artists anyway. I don't need to really pull that apart too much. But even if this had been Terry, with Terry's approach, I've told you guys in the past, I think this would have taken probably between 30-40 sessions, because Terry's just more, he just puts in longer, and we take less breaks, and he gets at it a little more. But it wouldn't have been the same sleeve if Terry did it either. It would have been laid out a little bit more like the rose sleeve, or where Terry has, he's revamped Rick's tattoos on my torso, the armpits and stuff. He's just following the guideline there, right? Like there are no extras added into any of these things. It's not really Terry's style to do the super small details and stuff. Terry's more of a big bold guy, so the rose sleeve is much more his bag. It's not to say that all he wants to do is roses, but if you have a look at even the Krampus back piece, the detail that Terry does is bolder, and he doesn't really prefer to use the smaller mags. So everything that he's been doing to follow Rick's work is sort of outside his comfort zone, and he finds it annoying to work on, to be honest. And so most of what he's been doing is just buffing up what Rick had already laid out. If he had done it, it would have been a different thing altogether. It still would have been cool. It's not to say it wouldn't have been, but it wouldn't have been all of these. Everything in here is done with a 7 mag. But you can't get in, and some of it is, other parts of it are shaded in with even liners. The details are so small. Like if you get into these little tiny suction cups in here, you can't even get in there with a mag. It's so small and so tiny compared to what we've done on the rose sleeve. And so part of what's made this so complicated is the smaller areas of black that you cover. There's less for the eye to be kind of pulled in with. And so what ends up happening is because there's a smaller amount of one color, the eye is less drawn to it, right? Whereas if you were to block shade that blue in the entire way, it would be more defined. So you can get the same result. It's just going to take longer when you're using smaller sets of details and colors and stuff for them to register the same way. With that said, if you just want something big, bold, and recognizable, do something like the rose sleeve, and it won't take you that long. I think Rick could have done the rose sleeve in not that long as well. It's just a simpler concept and a safer concept, and nothing about this sleeve was laid out in a safe way, and I would never ever recommend anyone who just wants to get tattooed a couple times to go for something like this, because it's just not going to be feasible. You could do some version of it, however, that wasn't as crazy in relatively short order. So just food for thought there. So anyway, I'll show off how all of this stuff on my torso is healed up. So the chest was done over a week ago now. I guess it's been about a week and a half. And then the stuff on my sides here and the lower area was done just 4 days ago, and it's all peeled. Same as the color in the eye, that's all peeled now and healed up very easily. All of this stuff sucks more to get done than it does to heal. I find anything on the torso heals really easily, and so no surprises that there was no complication there. And I really like how it helped distinguish all the tentacles and pull things apart. The shining moment of all of it for me has been the depth that we got around the chest and how we further defined the eye. All the dark shading inside the eye, all that stuff, I think is quite a nice addition, and I couldn't be much happier with how that has gone. So yeah, it shouldn't change much. I'm not anticipating it to lighten a whole lot, because most of it, the bulk of it, was done over top of color, and as evidenced by the spider webs that we've done over the red, whenever you put black on black over top of color on black, you get a fairly good result from it. A darker result than you would just simply black on black, which most of my earlier experiments over black were done. So I won't have a session with Terry this week. Sorry, just fighting with the mic or the camera here. I won't have a session with Terry this week. I've given myself the week off, but I do have a video to make about my leg tattoo with Ashlyn, another young artist that tattooed my leg recently. That'll be the next video in sequence here. I gave myself the week off with Terry on purpose. I like a little pace break every now and then. I've got some smaller stuff to do with him, and then we're going to be heading back to my back again. But I did just want to briefly mention, for the people who are saying the only reason why these things look good is because I'm working on this constantly, that's not necessarily a thing. It's that we get things to a place and they stay there. But to get them to the further place, you have to go farther with it, right? So, for example, all of this stuff now hasn't been touched in months again up here, believe it or not. And it looks the same as it did when we left it about a week after. If I want to increase that color up there, we would have to hit it again. Now, some of these colors are reaching their saturation points, not in terms of what the skin can bear, but how much brighter can a green really be, or a light blue green color really be, right? So there's not really much sense to hit that green again. It's pretty much where it's going to be. There are, however, some colors that take a little longer to get there, and some places that are harder to saturate to begin with, like my elbows. So in those spots, it's more love required, right? But a lot of this stuff up here is about as good as we can make it. There are some details that Rick wants to do farther up the arm that he started doing down in these spots here on my bicep that will be incorporated farther up here when we get back to the top of the arm. So that again won't be a touch-up, that will be an addition. And there are differences between further passes and touch-ups. A touch-up is done to more or less bring something back to where it was because it potentially didn't heal well, or it's been sun faded, or the color has died off over the years. Whereas with this, we're getting things to a place they were never at in the previous passes. So, important distinction, especially in a climate where people are constantly kind of slagging my work as untenable. I would be the first to tell you guys that I would never recommend doing this sleeve to anyone who wasn't going to be in the chair often. This sleeve, however, I would, because it's much, much easier to, first off, afford and endure the road there. So, again, I'll always just be honest with you. If you want to get something color on black and you don't really love getting tattooed, go big and bold and simple. If you like getting tattooed all the time, maybe this is an option for you. Anyway, I'm going to keep this one fairly short. I'll talk to you guys here again soon. Have a great day.